Good morning, Millwood United friends. My name is Nancy Seaver,
And I'm Marianne Chanewski.
and we are here this morning to talk to you about our positions as the honorary witnesses for Millwood United Church with regards to the Truth and Reconciliation report on the calls to actions. And these positions were made available when the Alberta Northwest Conference's Living into Right Relations Committee made a request that each pastoral charge appoint 2 people to facilitators for the ongoing work of that truth and reconciliation and in our local communities and in our churches. And so Marianne and I are honored to have been serving in that position for the last 4 years. And now we find we are at a position in our lives that it's time for us to move away from the position and to invite and try and encourage and inspire someone else to take over that role.
And we would mentor the new people. We will introduce you to people you need to be introduced to and help you figure out what to do next.
Yeah, so part of this presentation that we're putting together here this morning, we wanted to maybe highlight some of the events that we participated in the last 4 years as your honorary witnesses. And Mary and I were putting together a list of all the different events and activities that we had attended, and it's quite an extensive list. And rather than go through that long list of events that we hosted and attended, I thought it might be more valuable for us to just share some of our own highlights in this position for the last while.
So one of the things that I would like to talk about in terms of a highlight is the relationships that I made and the people that I got to meet. I met so many interesting people and I heard so many different stories, some of them very sad, but that's what happened to these people and we need to hear them and we need to understand the history of what did happen to a lot of people. So I'm grateful for all the learning that I have done, and I hope that I've been able to pass some of it on to our congregation.
Mm-hmm. And Marianne, maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the ways that we have made our space at Millwood United Church more welcoming for our Indigenous neighbors.
So we asked our minister to include a land acknowledgement at the beginning of every service. So people attending can certainly hear that everyone is welcome. We have included the turtle candle in the lighting of the Christ candle for every service. We one day we invited Chief Bruno to speak during Aboriginal Awareness Day, and we also made a heart garden out in our community garden in the front of the church. And so later we took the hearts and we put them in a shadow frame, and they're up on the wall in our sanctuary for everyone to see. We also invited a speaker to come, and she spoke about the 150 acts of reconciliation. So we got the posters, got them framed, and they're up on the wall. So anybody could go and read those acts and choose a few of them to try to do to have reconciliation happening. And then we also got a plaque at the front door of our church, again, acknowledging that we gather on Treaty 6 land and that this was the ancestral land of the Pappas Chase Band.
And I think for me, one of the turning points for me was when I had attended my very first blanket exercise at City Hall. It was a mass blanket exercise. And I had been given a doll, and I was to be representing the families who had their children taken away from them. And when it came time in the blanket exercise for the facilitator had instructed the people to come and take the doll from me. And I just very cheekily thought that I wasn't going to make it that easy for them. I was just going to make it I just put my shoulder out and I kind of protected the baby a bit. And the person kind of tried to reach around me and grab the baby, and I got really defensive. And I got really emotional. And I just had an inkling for just a moment, an inkling of how painful that must have been for those families to go through that. And so that was for me the first moment when I actually moved from understanding all of this information about residential schools from my head to my heart. And again, yes, as painful as that was for me, that's, like I say, just a small part of how awful it must have been for the many families and children who had to go through that. And another highlight for me was when we hosted an art installation at Millwoods United Church. It was called Reconciling YEG. And the City of Edmonton's artist in residence had put together some paintings alongside of a poet who had written some poems, stories about these pictures that they had found in the archives. And the paintings were positioned around the sanctuary. And I found it a very powerful way for us to connect people to the stories, like just rather than just hearing stories, but people could see the pictures. And we also had an event. Marianne, maybe you can talk a little bit about the hosting the event that we had invited the artists and some others to come and see the pictures.
A fellow who likes to come visit our minister every now and then is Stanley Salapre. He's a Denny, and he wanted to sing and drum during an event where we talked about each of the paintings, and it was a really interesting event. I learned quite a bit, and a lot of history of our province was brought up, and history that I never heard about in school when I was young. This is like what the history that we didn't hear about when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm. And so Marianne and I are going to make a little blog and list all of the events that we did attend and host. And again, like Marianne had said earlier, we're hoping that we can inspire someone else to take over these positions for us and to represent and continue to educate Millwoods United Church in our journey towards reconciling with our Indigenous neighbors. And just also to be able to say thank you so much for entrusting us with this such important work. And special thanks to council for giving us money when we asked for it to pay for honorariums and other things we needed to pay for, and for Ian for just always helping guide us along, and for you, the congregation, for attending our events. And like I say, we feel so truly blessed and honored to have been doing this very rewarding and yet humbling work. And there's still so much to be done. Just want to read a little something from Justice Murray Sinclair. When he was presenting his report in December 2015, he had remarked, "Achieving reconciliation is like climbing a mountain. We must proceed a step at a time. It will not always be easy. There will be storms, there will be obstacles, but we cannot allow ourselves to be daunted by the task, because our goal is just, and it is also necessary." And so again, like Marianne had said, we'd be happy to mentor someone. Whatever resources we have, we'd like to share with you, make introductions for you, and would really love to see this work continue in our congregation. I think that we have come very far in our journey.
Thank you.